Yo, 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 how's everybody doing? I'm back. It's been a long couple days. Took the weekend off, took Friday and then throughout the weekend off. Hadn't made a video since Wednesday, so I was off for Thanksgiving. Uh, didn't trade or do anything Friday as I was traveling, and then didn't have not made a video. Friday, a little bit to review. Thursday and Friday, Thanksgiving Day, and then the day after Thanksgiving were uh, half days, so not a lot of trading, not a lot of volume happened during those days. But however, we did have like a little bit of a gap up here on Thursday, gap up, small trading range. I'm not really going to include Thursday in my overall analysis of the market. I'm going to include Friday because Friday was a little bit more of a full, not necessarily a full trading day because it was a half day, but in the sense of things, it was a full trading day. So Friday we had a perfect pock up here as far as time frames go. There were only 7 time frames in the day, so they were 7 out of 7 wide. And then you only have the high of day at 39.25, 409 or 4,039.25. Weak against that high of day from Wednesday at 39.50. So we were weak there. Rotational, set a low day at 40, 25, 25. So basically an inside day. So if you're not including Thursday, Friday was an inside day. Well, we opened today with a gap down. We opened up at 4,025. Gap down. Overnight was short. We gap down. Had a pretty decent, gap to start the morning with. So we started with an inside day and then gap down below that previous day's low. Previous day's low was at right there at 4,325. We opened at 4,025, so 3 points lower. It's where we took out that low of day. We opened with the lower gap. Um, so we took out that day's low. So with an inside day out or inside day down, whenever you have something like that, an inside day down, which is what today was, you have basically you look for continuation. You look for and try to see if there's any continuation. Monitor for continuation. So since this was a gap to the downside out of an inside day, you want to monitor and continue for see if there's any continuation. So that's what we did today. We opened up because on the 22nd there was actually a set of single prints. We opened up just below that first set of single prints from the 22nd, right in this range here, right in that range, right there. So we opened below that, so that set went away. Then later in the day, we filled that other set of single prints that we had right in here. Oop, didn't mean to place that. Set of single prints, and just remember, set of single prints is all it is a intraday gap. All it is. So right in this range right here. Another really small set, but we filled that set as well. And then we were holding the one set. In D period, we held it, bounced as we found some bids there. E period, we pushed up, stopped the one time frame and down. F period, we got an afternoon rally high. And F period was actually a wild, if you can see, was a bit of a wild range. Had 19 points as the range in F period today. As all we did, some Fed member was out speaking, and yeah, it's kind of a wild. I was actually in a trade during F period, uh, not aware that this Fed speaker was going on, and which caused algos to kind of go to hissy fit. I'm gonna keep this where the single prints fill right here at 90.50 because that's kind of where a line in the sand was for us today. My mentor was discussing, and that's F's high from the 22nd, kind of where change took place on that trend day up in the 22nd, right? So we finally got into that distribution, that lower distribution from the 22nd, and you can see here in a minute when I go through these time frames that it was a good trade opportunity in H period. So let's review what happened, right? A period, we open up, we try to take back some of the gap with a push up. We don't necessarily fill the gap. Gap fills at 25.25. Today's high was at 17.75. B period, we take out A's low, but not by much. We're one time framing down at this point. So there's things that I look for, right, as a checklist um, whenever I'm trading. So I'm always looking to see who has control, kind of like a boxing match. You always want to see who's winning. So things I'm looking for is like who controls the open, where value is at the time, if we've gotten the overnight low or overnight high, if we've taken out the initial balance low or the initial balance high, which is the first two trading time frames, first two time frames, so just A and B, right? So the only time you can take that out is in C period or later. So look to see who takes out the IB low or initial balance low, IB low, initial balance high, or IB high. You'll hear me call it. See if we're one time framing up or one time framing down. So all that means is if we're taking out a previous time frame's high or a previous time frame's low. So if we take out a previous time frame's high like we did here in E period, um, or in F period, I should say, we were one time framing up initially. And then, in B period, since we took out A's low, we were one time framing down. We had a gap. I look for things like that if there was a gap. So we gapped lower. I also look to see if we have things called single prints. See if we create an intraday gap where we'll get a separation of distributions. As you can see, we had that on the 22nd from last week. We had that right there. We had a double. We actually had more. We had a triple distribution, I believe. Yeah, triple distribution on the 22nd. We took back all those distributions today, all the sets of single prints today, and we created one set for us today, later in I period. So now that you kind of have know what I'm looking for, I'm looking for these things, see where value's at. Value, obviously, we open with a gap, so value's lower from these previous days. So value's lower. Nobody had the opening since we trade back and forth through it a couple time frames, the first few time frames of the day. I was looking to see if we took out the overnight low and if we were one time framing down. So we were one time framing down in B period. We continued to do so in C period. And we finally got the overnight low in D period. So sellers have these things in their favor. So we're taking out these lows, gaps lower, we have value, overnight low, IB low. We're one time framing down, right, initially. Nobody has the opening just yet because, like I said, we came through it a couple times. We're one time frame down in D period. E period, we pop D's high after getting into that set of signal prints, but not taking it back from the 22nd. Pop D's high. We look to rotate higher, right? So we got back up to the opening, through it in F period, take out E's high. We're one time framing up now. And then that's when the Fed speaker came out and things got a little wacky in F period as we had a 19-point range. It was a whole lot of chop back and forth. But ultimately, we kind of, after the algo settled down, we got G period to kind of begin to one time frame down a little bit, or attempt to, as we attempted to take out F slow but didn't quite get it. And then H period, that's when we took it out. And then I finally, we went trend down as we created that set of single prints here. Good trade opportunity was in H period once we closed below where that single print filled and F's high from the 22nd right there at 39.90.50. We never could get above it or out of that lower distribution. So what's the next destination for anybody that is shorting, or any of these algos that are shorting below where a change took place from the 22nd? Their next destination is that day's low, right? So good short opportunity there in H period. You could have taken it 89, 88, where half back is. Anywhere in that range would have been a good short opportunity. And sure enough, we rolled over, resumed one time framing down with a set of single prints. And your target obviously being the low down here, you could have gotten out at any point in time in JK or an L period when we finally got that low. Uh, so that was a good trade opportunity. Another good trade opportunity was in J period after I created that set of single prints right in here. So now we know that there's supply in here, trapped longs, there's supply there. So whenever J period opens and pushes up, you look to take a short against those set of single prints. Your out being, well, the single prints fill at 83.50. So you could have gotten short here at 76.75 at any point in time, and your target being the low down here at 62.75. So about a 10-point gain. And you're risking roughly 5. So not a terrible risk reward. Then as you see here, L period we attempted to go trend again, but M period we filled that set of single prints. M period still going on as we haven't closed out the day. So we do go out with a double distribution today. A's high to H's low, and then J's high to M's low is our second distribution. So we have our upper distribution here. All this range, that's all our upper distribution, so we'll treat it as two separate days. This is our lower distribution, J's high to M's low, so that's our lower distribution. And when we come in tomorrow to look for any trades, if we're trading in this lower distribution, then we can take shorts against J's high, and then we can take longs against the low of day and M, as we are in a balance now on the daily. I'm gonna review some trades that I took early on in the day, and I did record most of my trading. The only trade I didn't take was the long that I took in B period, uh, which was a really good long opportunity. It ended up 7 points up after that trade. I taken a long in B period, thinking if we could hold the 4,000 level, then we'll rotate back up to the 90 EMA on the 1 minute chart. And you can kind of see up here in this upper range on my recording here is that's exactly what we did. I was long at 3 lot at the 4,000 level, and then as we pushed back up into that 9 EMA around the 4,003, 4,002, I got out of my trade. So it was a good short opportunity there, or a good long opportunity there, and then decided to get short later on. Let's go ahead and zoom through all this real quick. About right in here, I decided to get short at 03, thinking that, let's see, what was my reasoning? Oh yeah, I went short in C period against the 9 EMA at 03 to back off as we had most of the MGI in the seller's favor. So I was thinking, since MGI we do have one time framing down at the time, as you can see early on in the day, B is just taking it out that low. One time framing down, I figured odds were good to go get that initial balance low. And as we pushed down, I got out at 4,075. So good trade, good 3 points on that. Took another short in C period, stating that if we couldn't get back above the 90 EMA on the 5 minute and the 144 on the 1 minute, then odds favor getting the IB low. So let's see if I can find that trade real quick. I think it was right around here. So we hadn't taken out the IB low, as you can see. I get short at 04 against the 9 EMA on the 5 minute chart here, against the 144 here. As you can see, we kind of have a little bit of an trending upward range. I actually got long initially, and the long doesn't end up working out because I was kind of not paying attention. I was writing down my trades, and you can see we're pushing up. I'm long because I was thinking maybe we have a good opportunity to get above the 144 because we didn't at the time get below the open or the IB low. So I was like, well, maybe we come up, test half back. So that was kind of the initial reason for that long. And then I end up flipping short. Let's see if I can find, leave right here. We start to break down. You can kind of see testing that trend line, start to break down a little bit. Zoom a little bit quicker. And then you can see right there, I decided to get out of that long that I was in, get short, because I seen that we'd broken that trend line down, or that upward trend line, and I was thinking, all right, now we're going to go get the initial balance low and get below. So I was short, I added another one there, thinking, all right, it's a good opportunity. We push back up, still holding. I have my out at 4,004, which is above that 144. So if we get above that, I'm thinking, all right, let's get out of the trade. You know, there's not going to be anything there for me. So we push up initially, still short my two lot. I'm bidding one at 97. I'm bidding the other at 94. Thinking if we can rotate down low, I'll get those obviously because the initial balance low or the initial balance low is right there around 97.25. So I was thinking if we take it out, we're gonna get it by at least a tick. So we start to push down, slowly start to push down. Tape's picking up a little bit. A little bit of trouble right here at 98. Looks like we're about to go get it. We're kind of weak against it. 98 still here. 98 still here. We're attempting to push lower here. Right. Still got a good attempt. 98 still an issue for us. And then boom. We finally, let's see if I can back that up. You'll see here in just a second. We finally decided to break that 98 level and push lower. And you'll see me get that bid. Boom. Tape starts to pick up. We're pushing lower here. And then I eventually get out of the trade as we push down lower. I got out of the trade right around 93.25 because it was a pretty quick push. So I was pretty happy with that. Really good execution. Idea was to get down, take out the IB low, get the overnight low. So good trade there. Next trade that I took was a long and deep period. Because I was thinking if we get the overnight low and don't have much tempo and volume, then I'll look to get long to rotate back up to POC because we haven't held trend with the single prints, and you'll see that in a minute. We try to create single prints in C period, and then D, we eventually fill them. You can see we closed C period down here. D, we pushed up. I was attempting to get long at the single print fill from the 22nd. Had my bid in at 90.50 where the single prints would have filled. We pushed down to 91.25. I don't get my fill. You see the tape start to pick back up here. A lot of green starts to step in. And right in here I decided, I was like, all right, well, let me see if I can catch the long. And this ended up being like a scratch trade as we didn't do a whole lot. I did end up getting long at 95.50, had an opportunity to get out for a pretty good gain. 2-point gain, I believe, is what I could have gotten out at. But I decided to hold because I wanted, as you can see, my offer was up here at 99.50. I was thinking we can get to A's low at the time, right around this range. I was thinking we can get to that low and maybe get 4 wide there, bring POC from up here where this yellow line's at 4,004, and get, you know, POC right here 4 wide at 99.50. This ends up being a scratch trade as I take a loss on it and kind of notice, all right, nuance, we're not going to get 4 wide up here. We're not going to get A's low, so maybe they want to finish the job and get the single print fill. So I decided to get short at this point. And I should have gotten out of that trade when we initially pushed up into that 97 area because that's where the 9 EMA was on the 5-minute, but I decided to be stubborn and see if we got a little bit more out of it. I should have just gotten out was a good trade idea. Not the best execution. I could have gotten out for still gain. As you can see here, we're still chopping around. And then this goes on for a little while, still in the trade. And then I finally decided to get short because I was thinking get short in E period against D's high. Uh, my out was actually, you'll see here in a minute, I decided to add to this position and move my stop up to 04 because we hadn't quite gotten that single print fill, and I felt like that's what we were going to get. You can see here we're chopping around in a bit of a demand area that I have marked on my 1 minute, and I'm kind of guessing, all right, maybe we go up, test 144. I'll look to add up around that area. If we get above that, then we'll get to the VWAP, and then if we get above VWAP, then that's where my out would be. So I was looking to risk a good little bit, but I'm trading the micro, so I'm not tripping out too much about it. And you can see here in a second, I believe right around here is when I attempt to add, and then I'll move my stop up because you can see we just taken out D's stops and pushed up a little bit higher. I hadn't moved my stop just yet. I'm thinking, all right, maybe if I get hit, I'll get out of this trade. If not, then I'll add. And then I eventually added another lot. So now I'm short two. Average price of 96.50. Price still kind of chopping around, chops around for a little while. And then we finally start to push up in F period. Here in just a second. E period eventually gets up to, oh, and then boom. So I pause for a minute and I'm short three now. I got my other fill at around 99.75. So now my average price is 97.25 and an F period. So E took out D's high. We stopped the one time framing down. That's what I was talking about earlier. Now an F period, because I'll stop the recording here in just a second and then I'll resume it right after I'd gotten filled. So what had happened was an F period, we'd pushed up. We never did get above or to that VWAP area that I was looking to get out at if we had rotated upward. And then we did get that flush down, that liquidation, and I got my fills down at 93.25. So 23 points on the day, $117. Not not a lot, but pretty good in just the hour that I traded. So cannot complain. Overall, good day. Uh, and that was, yeah, that was it. So we do end with a double distribution. Let's go ahead and put in our destinations. I know this was a long video, but wanted to kind of go over my trades I've been recording. Let's see. We do have where the single prints fill at 83.50 and they start at 76.75. 76.75 where the single prints start. Single prints start. And all single prints are is just basically an intraday gap. So this is where supply will be. This is what we're going to be looking for tomorrow. If we get a push up into that, like we open up in this lower distribution, we get a push up into this area, then we'll look to take a short against it because there should be some type of supply in that area. We did stretch our balance low because the daily did come into a balance. Balance low is now 60.25. We'll just change that to 28. And then we have our high where the gap starts at 17.75. Gap will start here. High day 11.28. Gap start. And then the gap gets filled at this low. I'll just say gap F. So there's our destination. So for the upside, single prints where they start at 39.76.75. They fill at 39.83.50 from there. You don't have anything to the high day at 4,017.75 where the gap starts and then fills at 4,025.25. Then we have for the downside today's low, our balance low at 39.60.25. We take that out, then the daily will go to balance depending on how much we take it out by. And your next destination to the downside is that 9 wide POC at 39.53.75. And then the low of day from the 21st at 39.37.50. One thing to keep in mind is we do have some pretty good destinations in here. Monthly is in a balance. So let's go over the big boys here. Monthly is in a balance. We have tested a little bit of the top of our balance here. Uh, Monthly's in a balance. We'll see what the month of December does if we get over. But first, let's look at the weekly. Weekly so far is an inside week. We are one time framing up on the weekly, but if we take out last week's low at 37.50, then the weekly goes to a balance. Currently, the daily is in a 4 day balance. So this whole section here is our balance. So we are in a 4 day balance. We take out today's low tomorrow, then we look to have the daily down and possibly back test the 20-day moving average at 39.20, which would be right below the weekly that weekly low, which would put the weekly into a balance if you're following me. Uh, so that's what we look forward to. You can see we did kind of test the 200-day moving average on Thursday. Not going to call it a true test because Thursday wasn't a full trading day. So maybe we look to backfill, maybe get this gap down here, maybe we get the gap above us. Gaps everywhere as the market is pretty emotional and short term as far as the trading goes. Other than that, if you made it to the end, I do appreciate it. I know this was a long one. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Catch you in the next one.